Hello, aspirants, and welcome. A really major shift is happening in how we protect our planet's biodiversity. And if you're preparing for your exams, you absolutely need to pay close attention. Today, we're breaking down a landmark development that gives a powerful new voice to some of nature's oldest guardians. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the history behind this breakthrough. Then, we'll define all the key terms you need to know, take a close look at what happened at the very first meeting, and then, of course, wrap it all up with the key takeaways you'll need for your exams. Let's get right into it. So, first things first, why is this new body such a big deal? I mean, really, to get it, we need to rewind the clock a bit and understand the long and, often difficult journey that led us to this moment. Just listen to this quote, an emotional moment that was more than 20 years in the making. Think about that for a second. This wasn't some quick political decision. Nope, this was the result of a decades-long struggle by Indigenous peoples and local communities, what we'll call IPLCs, to finally have their voices heard on the global stage. And here's the absolute core of the issue. For years, pretty much everyone acknowledged that the traditional knowledge held by these communities was vital for conservation. But there was a massive gap. They had the wisdom, but they had no official, permanent seat at the table. There was no UN body designed to bring that knowledge into the rooms where global environmental policies were being hammered out. This new development, well, it changes everything. Okay, so we've covered the why. Now, let's get into the what. This next part is super important, especially for your objective questions. So we're going to break down the key terms and a timeline that'll help you see how all these pieces fit together. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? You can see that long road, over 20 years of advocacy, that finally led to the huge decision at COP16 in Colombia in 2024. And that, in turn, brings us to the recent historic first meeting that just took place in Panama City. So to understand this new body, we first have to understand its parent organization, the Convention on Biological Diversity, or the CBD. Just think of it as the main international treaty for protecting all life on Earth, one of the big three that came out of the famous Rio Earth Summit. Now, inside that giant treaty, there's a specific clause that is the legal heart of this entire story, Article 8J. This is the part that officially says, hey, we must respect and preserve the traditional knowledge of Indigenous peoples. This new body we're talking about was created specifically to bring this one article to life. And that brings us to the solution itself. The Subsidiary Body on Article 8J, or SB8J. This is the brand new, permanent body created to finally put that article into practice. And here's a key fact for your notes. It is the very first UN body of its kind dedicated to IPLCs under any major environmental treaty. That's huge! So we know what the SB8J is. Now let's look at what it actually does. We're going to zoom in on its very first meeting, which was called SB8J-1, where this idea on paper finally started to become a working reality. This table gives us a fantastic snapshot of that first ever meeting. You've got all the key details. It was held in Panama City, it was chaired by Colombia's environment minister, and its main goal was basically to figure out the rules of the road for how this new body would operate. These are exactly the kinds of details that love to pop up in exams. So, what actually came out of this first meeting? What progress was made? Let's break down the 4 most important outcomes. And to make these outcomes super easy to remember for your exams, we're going to use a simple contextual mnemonic, GRAK. Yep, G-R-A-K. Let's walk through what each of those letters stands for. First up, G is for governance. This is all about setting up the fundamental rule book. The delegates started to figure out how the body will actually operate day to day, with a huge focus on making sure that the IPLCs themselves can participate in a truly meaningful and effective way. Next up, R stands for resources, and this is where the conversation turns into action. A major focus of the meeting was on how to get real money, real training, and real technical support to the communities on the ground who are doing this vital conservation work every single day. Then we have A for Article 8J guidelines. Think of this as creating a practical user's manual or a how-to guide. The group worked on developing clear guidelines so that countries all around the world can consistently apply the principles of protecting traditional knowledge. And finally, K is for knowledge. And honestly, this is a really big deal.
The group made serious progress on making sure that traditional knowledge will be officially included in the Global Progress Report for the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, or KMGBF. For the first time, this ancient wisdom is going to be a formal part of the world's biodiversity report card.
Okay, so the first meeting is in the books. But what's next? The work for the SB8J is really just getting started. Let's take a look at the road ahead. So the path forward is actually pretty clear. The Panama meeting left some issues unresolved. In UN jargon, this is called bracketed text, basically the stuff they couldn't agree on yet. Negotiations on those points will continue, and it's all leading up to the next big milestone, COP17 in Yerevan, Armenia in 2026. That's where the final decisions will get locked in, so it's a key date to remember. All right, it's time to pull everything together. This right here is your summary, your ultimate revision slide. This is everything you need to remember from our discussion today. Seriously, this is the perfect slide to pause and screenshot or just jot down these notes. It has all the essential facts, the dates, the acronyms, and the core concepts all in one place. If you know these points inside and out, you will have a really strong handle on this entire topic. And as we finish up, let's just zoom out and think about the bigger picture for a moment. How will this formal recognition of ancient wisdom actually reshape our modern, often science-driven approach to conservation? It's a really powerful question about the very future of how we make decisions for our planet. We really hope this breakdown of the SB8J was helpful for you. If you found this useful, the best way to support us is by liking this and sharing it with others. We wish you all the very best in your preparations.